Okay, we're on. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah. What up? What up? And welcome to Daytime Talk After Dark. My name is Al Jackson, but that is unimportant. What is important is that I am joined by a friend who usually is in the shadows, making sure we stay on track for 7 years at DBL, for a year and a half at Daytime Talk After Dark and Friends from Work. But now he's here on the couch, filling in admirably. Michael Dean, how are you?
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to screw it all up.
You're not.
Right away. Here
You're
we go.
not going to screw it up.
Yeah, it feels good.
I'm like, have you seen Tori? That's the baseline. We miss our girl.
Yeah, I do miss her. And she's so much better at this than I am.
No, you just started.
Well, I mean, I just know as far as it goes, she's got, certain talents and assets that I will not be able to compete with.
No, you're going to do great. First of all, our night owls are already talking. I was reading what the night owls were saying. I blame you, night owls. Before the show started, I was reading, and the show had begun, but I'm so into it. But yes, Tori is in Switzerland. Michael Dean is here. Erica is in New York City. Sam is doing Sam things. Jeff is doing Jeff things. Quite honestly, I never know what Sam and Jeff are doing.
Yeah, well, I bet you Sam is on the news right now.
Yes.
On 9 News.
Talking about real stuff. Oh, guess what speaking of 9 News, guess who I just got off the phone with Night Owls and Michael Dean?
I have no idea.
Take a guess. So I did give you the 9 News hint.
So immediately I go to the GM, who I am blanking on his name.
No.
Steve Gallagher.
Good guess. Tom Green. He's going to be doing Friends from Work.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's Tom Green from 9 News.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 9 News.
He was such a good friend of DBL.
Yes, such a good friend of DBL. Longtime lead anchor for 9 News here in Denver.
Very well respected.
One of the most famous anchors to ever grace the NBC affiliate here in Denver. He's going to be doing Friends from Work with us.
Wow.
We also have Lauren Mack, a friend of DBL, who's going to be on the show tomorrow.
Is she going to be making us a centerpiece?
We are going to be talking to Lauren Mack about how to spruce up things. Thank you, Simi.
Oh, Simi.
Simi, we love you. That $20 is appreciated. Yes, Simi, Lauren Mack will be here. My mama will be on.
I believe that's almost how we started the show.
Yes.
I wanted to know what day to look forward to seeing.
Yes, Dr. Jackie Mack will be in the building. I believe that'll be on the 4th, and we have some other surprise guests.
Oh, that's very exciting.
So, yes, Tori's away, so we're going to fill in for her. Lauren Mack is just a great friend of mine, Marquita, and just like she's one of those people. She is. It sounds so corny to be like somebody's real, but she's a real one. She's one of us. So yes, Michael Dean. Dare I be so intrusive to ask, how was your Labor Day? What did you do?
My Labor Day was not really a holiday in the traditional sense, although there was lots of labor. My husband, Mitchell, he rented one of those roll-off trailer dumpsters.
One of those dumpsters that they used to break out in Hoarders. Do you remember when they would have that big metal dumpster out and they'd be like, throw your dolls in this? And she'd be like, no. That's what Michael Dean had in front of his house.
Yeah, and, he unveiled this plan to me, I think 2 days in advance. He took Thursday and Friday off, and we went through the entire house, room by room. I didn't know we had as much stuff as we did to throw away, but we got rid of nearly an entire dumpster full of stuff.
I mean, that's great.
Which is really scary when you think about it.
I was going to ask, how apprehensive were you to do this? Because you see that big dumpster and you're thinking, I don't know if I have 5 things to throw in there, much less enough to fill it. So were you like, hey, man, I'm not throwing away my stuff?
We did, a pretty thorough look through everything. We had a couple storage rooms to do. We did the garage. And after a while, it was just like, if I haven't touched it or used it in a year, it goes in there.
Right.
And there was some freedom, some lightness that came from all of that. And I appreciated the fact that we got to spend the weekend working on something together. That was nice.
There we go. I love it. Night Owls, is this something that you guys would do? I would be so down with throwing away. I feel like there's only like 20 things I really need. and everything else can kind of go. I have a table that I'm hanging on to, but it's taking up too much space in our front room. It's one of those tables that moves up and down so you can have a standing desk, even though I'm not standing at my desk. I'm not doing that. Life is hard enough. What am I doing? What am I at the DMV? I don't want to be standing in my home.
I had a standing desk at DBL.
You did?
Do you want to guess how many times I actually stood at it?
How many?
0.
Okay, so that makes me feel better, but I still like the idea that it's just like, oh, do you want me to raise it? Because I can do that. I got that kind of power. But I don't, I think the standing desk would probably go in the bin. And we have a couch that my girl is hanging on to. It's like the couch from Roseanne.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's comfortable, but it's like, it's broken on through where it's comfortable to now, like when you sit in a certain angle, you can feel the metal bar.
Yeah,
and you're like, I think this couch is.
It's time to go.
I don't know if Sarah's gonna be down with that. She needs some coaxing.
I purchased an expensive couch when I got my first nice apartment, and I will never ever do that again. I mean, it's fine, but like because it was so expensive, I've held on to it, and it is not comfortable, and I sit on it all the time. And
just to
I'm
get
like,
your money's worth.
Right. And I'm like eyeing the ones at Costco that, aren't as stylish, but gosh, they're really inexpensive. And my God, they're really comfortable.
Yeah, those black ones. And I don't know if they're leather. They're probably not. And who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm sitting. But like they're always in somebody's basement. And you go downstairs and you sit on it and you're like, man, I like this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have one of those fancy Wayfair couches where I'm like, look at the ergonomic design. And then there's nowhere to sit. There's hardwood for your elbow, and so you can't lean on it. If your partner is with you and you're kind of doing the partner lean, then it's like you don't have anywhere to go. So now you're sitting. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way as you, Michael Dean. I'm like, it wasn't even expensive, but it looks nice. It's
Right.
pretty.
Yeah.
It's like a sports car that's always broken down.
Right.
but
Yeah.
You don't want to get rid of it. I just need to find a real couch. So if anybody has a couch that they love in their crib, night owls that you love, where you're like, people need to know about this. I feel like everybody has one thing where they're like, more people should know about this product.
Yeah.
And one of those for me, this is random, this is a tangent. I have one of those choppers for vegetables. Game
Is
changer,
it like
bro.
the one that Julian's it?
No, it's
or
one,
is it like you
yeah,
slam
it's
down?
the one that you slam down. So do you want to make some hash browns real quick in the morning? What's up, dog? Come holler at me. You want to cut these onions quickly, or do you want to do them like we're working on a pirate ship in the 1700s? No, let's do it quick. Smash it down. And also, you're getting a little workout there, and just the power to see it like turn into cubes. I like it a little bit too much. Okay, so Michael Dean, we can't go any further without talking about the fact that our girl, Erica Cobb, was on TMZ.
I know. I mean, I was so proud of her. I mean, is this the first time? Or
I think this is her first time on TMZ. I don't think I've ever been on TMZ. I didn't know she was on. I was just scrolling TMZ
the Popeyes
for
clip
stories.
didn't make it on there, as I mentioned.
I don't think the Popeyes clip made it. I don't think it made it. But I don't know.
might have seen it in the Daily Mail.
Really?
I believe I did.
We're pulling back the curtain. And speaking of pulling back the curtain, I wish you night owls could see. Every time we come down to the podcast studio, Dude IDK has done something a little like the last couple weeks. They just built a music studio out of nowhere. Didn't even address it. It's just a room, and it's like, oh, that's a studio. It's like, oh, I've done nothing with my life. And now I get in here. They're soundproofing curtains. You guys have done a fantastic job here. We're going to pull the curtain back on our show, Friends from Work. Michael Dean, we had a meeting, and Snarf's
Oh, yeah.
Sandwiches is going to be coming on board as a sponsor. What up, though?
Very exciting. Alex, who we spoke with, was really fantastic. And randomly, so I knew that we had this set up, the meeting set up today. And, I finally left the house this weekend. I don't know where I was driving, probably to get coffee. And there's a Snarf's opening a block from my house. And it brought such a big smile to my face.
Yes.
Because, their sandwiches are they're super tasty.
And
it's quick and easy.
They're delicious. Just nail the sandwich. Stop trying to make like, oh, it's a chip that goes behind your ear and it can just make a good sandwich. And you'll be good. So
I'm not buying it from some guy who likes big game hunting.
Yeah.
Who posts like creepy photos online, or some, restaurant with a perv for its
Yes.
spokesperson.
It's a legitimate, wholesome company. So we are excited
Yeah.
to be doing business with them. You guys, do us a favor. Make sure to check out Accidentally Informed with Erica and Claudia, where they're giving you guys all of the hot goss.
Yeah.
I think they were talking to the Breakfast Club about Deion Sanders and his relationship with
That's
Carucci
exactly what.
and all that kind of stuff. So that's not my world, but if it is, then get in there. Michael Dean, let's get to our... Okay.
Hold on. Before we go any further, you also have some upcoming shows to talk about.
Oh, yeah. My people of Colorado. Yes. Come join me. I'll be at Comic Sense all this weekend in Boulder, Colorado. The show's located in a speakeasy underneath the Hotel Boulderado. Did I say that right? Hotel?
Yeah, Boulder. It's
Hotel
Boulderado.
Yeah. Yes.
But the speakeasy has a specific name.
Yes.
It is Comic Sense.
Yes, Comic Sense. So come out. Shows start Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you're in the Colorado area, if you don't come see me, I'll be inclined to think that you don't love me. And I don't. Do you want me going on stage thinking that? No, nobody does. So yeah, come out, check those shows out. Check Erica Cobb out, and yes, check out Snarfs. There's Snarfs in Colorado, Texas, and Missouri. So there's. I don't know how I knew that, but I know certain things.
I knew there was a third state. I just didn't remember Missouri.
All right. Well, Michael Dean, let's get to the first story of the day.
Oh, what is the? Oh, so I don't know if you were on, social media this weekend, Instagram, Facebook. There was all of this speculation that something was going on with Trump and his health. He had cleared out 4 days of his schedule
where he really wasn't seen.
Yeah, he was not seen. There were some kind of sketchy photos taken of him. I mean, he just didn't look himself. I don't even think he was wearing a red hat. I think it was gray. And he didn't look so good. And there was a lot of speculation. I think he canceled events, outside of DC. And people were saying that he was sticking close to Walter Reed. And that was a reason. There was even some wild speculation that he was dead.
I saw that.
Yeah. And, I have to think that this was a lot of maybe wishful thinking from people, because the truth is, I mean, he held a presser today. He answered questions for 50 minutes, and he said, I've heard it's sort of crazy. It's so fake. I was very active this Labor Day. He went golfing in Virginia. And then he was saying that the media was not holding him to the same standard as former President Joe Biden. And then he commented about how Joe would disappear for days on end, and he's so much more active. It is a little peculiar.
Yeah, I look, these stories don't come from nothing. And we all were looking at a man that did not look well. We are all of a certain age where we have seen people that look incredibly healthy, incredibly fit, at any age. We used to interview people that would be on DBL in 85, and they would be lifting, deadlifting heavy weight and running triathlons and doing ballroom dancing. We've seen people that are Trump's age that look incredible for their age, look like they're in fantastic shape for their age. And we've also seen people that are Trump's age, 79, 80, that look rough.
Yeah.
Trump looked rough. And everybody was commenting on it, and the pushback from the White House, which is usually staunch and adamant, and how dare you, and that's ridiculous, and the mainstream media and all this kind of stuff. You didn't hear that, and you didn't see him.
Full throttled all of the responses and just guns blazing. Yeah, I agree. And the other thing about being 79 or being around that age is that, your health can take a turn very quickly. Right. And I think we actually saw it with Biden. I think a lot of us were in denial.
Yes.
But he went from being one person, that seemed able-bodied and totally cogent to, just not being the same person. And, I've had this similar experience with, watching some of the old people. I'm thinking, I don't want to call her out, but my old mom is just not the way.
Right.
My old mom.
Yeah.
I got a
my
new
old
one.
mom.
My old mom.
Yeah.
She's declining. I've
Right.
seen it. It's it's evident in, the past few years, and it comes on, I think, at least for me, much more suddenly than I was ready for.
Right. I don't think that I think when we watch movies, there's always a montage, and then all of a sudden they just put a white beard on you, and it symbolizes you're old. But usually, when you start seeing family members and this happen to them, it's usually not that much time passes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like 2 months. And if you night owls, if you guys remember Biden, the reason that everybody was so taken back by his poor performance at the debate with Trump was the time that we'd seen him before was the State of the Union.
Right.
And he kicked ass.
Yeah, he was so
at that
fiery.
State of the Union. Yeah, he was. Remember he said any Republican that's going to take a shot at Social Security plan is sit down, all those kinds of things. He was on it. He was sharp. And I think that's why everybody that was even kind of leaning like, is he a little too old to run? You saw the State of the Union, you were like, there's old Joe. All right, man. You had us scared for a little while. And then the next time, he looked like he had been doused in NyQuil before he came out. And everybody, I think that's when the Democratic Party kicked in overdrive. George Clooney started writing op-eds like, yo, hey, bro, you need to go. And that kind of started the whole ball rolling.
I think that there are clips now more and more that are happening where Trump is mid-sentence or mid-thought and he loses that the same way that Biden did. He loses where he was going. He forgets what the question was. He circumvents things and just starts, spewing words that aren't really that, they don't make sense.
Right.
They're not coherent. So, I think this is what happens when we get a president that's near 80 years old.
I think
you've got your good days and your bad days.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tori's talked about it with her mother and watching it. I think with Trump, somebody that has been talking his whole life, it's like, I think he goes on a random tangent like he always does, but the connection isn't there. The word that he needs to really get his point across isn't there.
Yeah.
And so he ends up just rambling on about grass. He had this weird rant about grass and, the
paver that was broken in the back of the White House.
He starts talking about subcontractors. And they are kind of like the ramblings of an older neighbor where you're like, I can't really let him get to talking because I get to work, and it just kind of sounds like a person that's lost the thread a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that story. Michael Dean, what else you got for us?
You know what? There was another thing that went really viral this weekend. I tried to stay away from social media, but I did see this clip. It was a man who was watching this tennis player, and at the end of the game, it was a great match, and the winning tennis player, I'm not going to even Camille, whatever. I'm not going to attempt that. Anyways, was going and signing autographs for people up in the stands. And there was this boy, and he signed the autograph, and he was looking down, and he took off his hat and went to hand it to the boy. And there was this grown man standing right next to him who he snatched that thing so quickly. Like, that poor boy didn't even get a chance to react, except to immediately be like, what the F, man?
Yes.
You grabbed that from me. And he I think he started to say something to this guy, and immediately the man turned and gave it to his son, and could not have cared less that he reached and grabbed that and snatched it from the guy. And hats off to this tennis player who wasn't looking up, didn't see the whole thing go down, and just kept going down the line, but apparently asked the internet sleuths to come up and find this man.
Internet justice.
Yeah, well, they find the boy because he wanted to make sure that the boy got a hat. And even agreed to go take pictures with him. Found the boy that day, got him a hat, and then now we've got another CEO apologizing for his bad behavior caught on camera,
and then apologizing with the worst lie that I have ever heard, because I believe he said, Night Owls, oh, I thought that was my son's hat. And it's like, bro.
Yeah, I thought he was handing the hat to my son, which was on the other side of him.
It was such an egregious lie that it's not even to be explored. But it just shows you that, sadly, for as much as the internet and cameras are intrusive in our life, they are necessary, because this is the way this boy got some justice. And I'm wondering, is this enough for the CEO to just kind of skated because the astronaut CEO, or what was it? Astronaut, what was the name? The Coldplay CEO.
Oh gosh,
they got their lives ripped apart.
Right.
To the point where I was like,
but the company ended up coming out on top, in my opinion. And
the
all
company
that.
did, but
But
the
he
CEO
didn't.
and the mistress, I thought it was a little excessive.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it was very interesting to be that booed up in public when you're married. That's your choice. But I just thought like the response was very over the top. And for the CEO, who I snatched a hat from a kid.
You know, I have kind of two thoughts about it, because at first I was like reacting like everybody else, like how dare that man, how gross is it? That's a young fan. Of course you're going to give deference to them. You're not going to catch the ball over the head of the kid, the baseball game. All this stuff happens over and over again. But then I thought, you know what? That boy learned a very good lesson that day.
What's that?
Life is not fair, and people will grab things that are meant for you if you aren't quick enough or ready for it.
Yeah.
Life can be very disappointing. And, I hate for a young kid to have to learn that so quickly. And people can be assholes.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's a really honest way to look at it. And I never thought about, all these different scenarios. I look at all the different players, but I never thought about what the boy who is going to have the longest life of anybody kind of analyzing this clip, what he'll take from it. And he sadly will learn that, like, just because you're a cute kid doesn't mean somebody's not going to try and take advantage of that. Doesn't mean that after they're caught taking advantage, they won't lie their face off.
Right.
And I think the first time that happens to you where somebody just lies, like when you see somebody lie about something and you're just like looking, you almost can't defend yourself because you're like, I can't believe you're lying like that. It almost puts you on your back foot. That kid did learn a lesson that grown multi-millionaire CEOs will just lie.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing now he knows.
You wonder why we see examples of these men on the top. They've got those initials in front of their name, and I think that a lot of those people succeed.
They do. Yeah. Well, if you're a sociopath and you don't care about how your actions impact other people, you're destined for greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to do wonderfully.
I think part of the reason too why these stories get so much pickup and like people love to talk about them is because there's such a dearth of like just terrible news over and over again. Like, I go online and just read all these headlines that just make me so sad and I feel so helpless about the world. But we get a chance with something like this to have that group outrage,
right?
And it feels effective,
right?
You know what I mean? Like we see someone apologize
justice in the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why shows like Law and Order are so popular. People just want to see for an hour that the bad guy gets what's coming to him.
Right.
Yeah,
and that they get to play along and solve the murder mystery.
Yeah. All right.
Well, hopefully.
Michael Dean, I love that. Let's keep
going. So
yes.
The big news this morning was this judge in San Francisco ruled that Trump's deployment of troops and National Guard members to both the Marines and National Guard to Los Angeles violated federal law. So this is an 1878 law that prohibits the use of military for domestic law enforcement.
Yeah,
seems pretty black and white.
Right.
Yeah. And said that his decision restricts the use of service members to engage in arrests, apprehensions, searches, seizures, and traffic and crowd control. And I think that, this is really big news, especially because it seems, especially after all the violence this weekend, that Chicago is the next in line to have National Guard troops deployed to it.
Well, before they were already talking about Chicago before this. And yes, Michael Dean, you were right. This was already, I don't know if it was an amendment, but I know the amendment about you cannot have a standing army. These things have happened before. And the reason that you cannot have a standing army, I believe, came from the Revolutionary War, because having a standing army, even back then, pissed people off.
Yeah, having federal troops doing policing is a problem. Like
right.
we have a federal system, we have states, we have state rights, and we have state, local police.
Right. They're not trained to do that.
No.
And I watched the You're right, Marquita. You're in Chicago. Wait, ELC isn't. He's going to send troops to Chicago. Yes, and the mayor there is already putting things in place to fight that.
Right.
The reason is having a standing army causes agitation. That when this initially became an issue, it was because there were British troops in United States cities, and it pisses people off, and it led to the Boston Massacre. You cannot have armed soldiers walking around with civilians,
Right.
because as we saw just with the snapshot of the Katrina documentary, you send soldiers there, and they're there to all they know how to do is soldier, to their
Right,
credit. So like they showed the one kind of guy that was really in charge that had boots on the ground in Katrina, and the first thing he had to do was walk around saying, "Put your weapon down." Like they're armed soldiers pointing M16s at people that haven't eaten in 3 days.
Right, that are desperate for food.
Right. And he's like, "Give them water, dumb."
Yeah.
But soldiers only know what one thing to do is point their gun at something.
And it's not you don't excel as a soldier for being human or being humane.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
You're not trained to do that.
that's
Yeah, you're trained for
specifically
combat.
what you're not trained to do. And hats off, our military serves a purpose, but it's not to police our streets.
Right. And I mean, this is the same argument to a lesser extent, Night Owls, that we've had with replacing some cops. It got, of course, rebranded as defunding the police. But no, having mental health experts handling situations in which somebody's having a mental health crisis.
Right.
The police are not trained to do that.
Right.
The police are there to de-escalate situations, to break up crowds and whatever the hell else police are asked to do. But we shouldn't be asking our police to also become mental health training professionals. We should not be asking our teachers to become armed security guards. We always do this thing where we're like, well, since they're there, can you do this as well? Mm-hmm. And it's a formula for disaster, just like what we saw with the Boston Massacre. And what I believe and what I've been saying for about a month and a half now, guys, is that it's just a matter of time before a car backfires or somebody throws a water balloon and a cop says, "I thought it was a grenade," and 2 shots are fired and there's 3 dead protesters. And now what do we have? We have American soldiers firing on American citizens on American soil. And we saw that at Kent State.
Yeah.
And we are here again. You cannot keep putting hot weapons on the street with agitated citizens. There's no way that will end well. And I think part of this is purposeful, Michael Dean.
This ruling, I have a couple reactions to it, because immediately I'm like, is this really going to do anything to stop this administration and their stated goals? And it seems to me that they want to put these troops in more and more cities and get us used to having these troops on our street. Like, is this really going to stop them? It might in California, but I don't know if we're going to have to go through this in every other place. And, Trump has already won because he already deployed and they were already there.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like, well, the judge ruled that it's illegal, but it's been 2.5 months.
Right. They're still there. They're not as many, and then I fully believe that he intends on keeping the National Guard in D.C. permanently. I mean, I don't think they are ever going to leave because, he's taken federal control. And because of the way D.C. is situated, I think that might not be unlawful. Right. I don't know. I'm not a law expert to
I think
weigh
they're
in on
only
that.
allowed to be there for like 90 days. There's a cap.
Is there?
But even if there is, like, it's like that Real Housewife. Who's gonna check me, boo? Who's gonna stop him?
Right.
And that's the problem. And also, DC, you think about it's twice as bad because you're also talking about a district of people that are not represented by the federal government that is now occupying them. They don't even have a say or somebody in Congress or a senator to stand up for them. They're just these troops that are there for some benign reason like crime. I don't know if did any of Unite Owls see when Fox News actually asked Mike Johnson why there aren't federal troops going to his home district of Louisiana, even though they had more crime, in this last year than D.C.? And he just danced around. He was like, well, that's something we'll have to look into. but I think they had 1,300. I don't know, acts of violent crime, and DC had like 913, and it's on Fox News. You can check it out. But it's just like, if we are going to be sending cops into areas where, there's air quotes crime, a lot of these rural communities are overrun with opioids, overrun with methamphetamine, overrun with synthetic drugs. We see these documentaries about these communities, so I'm assuming that there's illegal activity going on in those communities, but yet they're not looked at as high crime areas.
It's really interesting because we saw it with that meeting with Zelensky where he was reacting as Trump was talking about DC being the most dangerous city in the world, which, I don't know if you saw it, but like they kept cutting away to Zelensky, who was like trying to hold it together.
Right.
Because like, how do you even say that to a man whose like city is regularly bombed?
Right. He's like, I was in a war zone this morning.
Right. Like, please, sir, get a grip on reality. And then today with Chicago, he said Chicago is the worst and most dangerous city in the world. So like it's his justification for doing this is, clearly not that.
Right.
Now, I do think it's kind of interesting because a lot of the defense of these cities and their policing and keeping the status quo is that crime rates have fallen. And, that we saw that in DC. It's been like that in Chicago, and same with LA.
And New York, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great argument, but I think that it's not necessarily a winning argument because crime is still a problem. It might be trending in the right direction, but, I just think it ends up splitting Democrats because there's plenty of people and independents who are like, crime might be down, but that doesn't mean it's solved. That doesn't mean that these people aren't going to help. And I think that I think there needs to be a better job talking about it in a way that doesn't sound so like immediately defensive.
Right. Well,
the other thing is like, are they effective? So I heard on the way over here on NPR that they were trying to look at all the arrests that were made in DC because the federal government is not releasing that data. So the reporter had gone through all these court records and basically found that the actual like felony rate for serious crimes has not, the arrest rate has not changed. It stayed pretty steady, but the number of misdemeanors and these other crimes arrests have gone up. And, the courts and the prosecutors there are working until like 1 a.m. to facilitate all of these additional arrests that have been made. And I don't know if it's really having the effect on, crime the way that people are perceiving it to be, or that it's being touted as.
Michael Dean, what you're talking about, and our buddy Nick, he says his hometown of in Wyoming riddled with opioids. Murder just happened last week, but you wouldn't do that in Wyoming. First of all, it's a red state, but also, if you're just thinking logically, and there's studies to prove this, you don't battle crime by arresting more people. Crime-riddled neighborhoods are usually neighborhoods in which a lot of the population is underemployed or unemployed. There are education initiatives. There are ways that you can fight crime in neighborhoods without arresting people because that just angers people.
And the other thing is there are proven ways to lower crime, and so many of these cities are engaging in it. And all of that grant money that came from the federal government that was helping to fund those programs have been cut.
Right, and that's on purpose.
You talk about really doing the things that are going to combat crime in the long term, and it takes money, not just manpower, and that kind of manpower.
Right, and to put a pin in it, a lot of what The Wire was about when they started talking about The Wire, the show on HBO, where they did a great job of connecting like literally street crime all the way up through, the mayor's office,
right.
And everybody has an incentive. And the issue that the mayor was having in The Wire was the person running against you. If Michael Dean's running for mayor and I'm his opponent, I'll say, look at the city. Michael Dean is letting crime run wild. That's what they all say to the incumbent. So Michael Dean then has to now get his cops working overtime to start arresting kids that are graffiti, arresting kids that are break dancing with the music too loud, the petty theft, snatching lemon heads from the corner store. So now you're going to arrest all those people. Well, what's going to happen now? You're going to piss the cops off because they don't care about that.
Right.
Catching two kids smoking a joint behind an 8th grade. Now they got to go do paperwork for
Right,
that.
right.
And it's going to piss off a big voting base for you, Michael Dean, that you would need, which are the black churches or the churches in general that don't want to see their citizens messed with. So that's kind of the dynamic that is always happening between City Hall and, the people that, pay their salaries. So I'm interested to see how this will play out and how nuanced of a conversation that we're able to have around this, because just saying the word crime, it just blows my mind because, the Chrisleys are out of jail, but no one ever refers to them as criminals. They stole $30 million. That's a lot of flat screen TVs.
Right.
But that's never looked at as criminal. They're looked at as TV personalities that made a mistake.
Weren't they in Club Fed prisons too?
Yes, right before
when they were.
Right before they were released, and then asked if they also did not have to pay back their restitution. Speaking of restitution, Michael Dean, let's skip to this story, because when I read this, I was like, this better be from the effing Onion. Michael Dean, let's talk about the Proud Boys.
Thank you.
Because they have been wronged.
Real quick, I want to get to something fun, but this is outrageous, and so I think that's good. But the Proud Boys, members of the Proud Boys, are calling for Pam Bondi, her resignation, and it all comes down to their lawsuit. They are suing the federal government and the Justice Department over their imprisonment and all of the crimes that they were charged with, which, they were later pardoned by our president. And they are seeking $100 million in damages because they allege that the men suffered, quote, a parade of horribles, egregious, and systematic abuse of the legal system and the United States Constitution to punish and oppress political allies of President Trump by any and all means necessary, legal, or illegal. Let's be clear. Some of those Proud Boy members were charged with assaulting officers.
Yes.
Certainly trespassing.
Yeah. Well, they did it on camera.
Right.
A lot of this.
With flagpoles.
Right. Yes. And it's so egregious that it's difficult to get the words. But I think even Pam Bondi, who's covered up a lot of things, some of them happen in, Florida, West Palm Beach area. I don't know, whatever. She's covered things up before, her and Alex Acosta. We'll leave it at that. But even she was like, the ball's on you. I think that's a direct quote. I just got you guys out of jail. I'm sure to the dismay of a lot of your wives. Can you imagine? You're like, oh my God, I am finally rid of this crazy lunatic who talks about DEI initiatives while we're having sex. And she's like, he's locked up for at least 4 years. She finds like a normal guy. And then all of a sudden he just calls her on the prison. I'm coming home in 6 days. We're going to get what's coming to us. And she's like, damn it. Like, will these guys just go away? You guys got away with a crime on camera, and the crime was beating and killing police officers. We always talk about the 5 police officers that were killed, but police officers lost eyes. Yeah. They lost fingers. These people were maimed and disfigured, and you got out of jail, bro.
And now you're asking for $100 million for serving that time, which, anybody with 2 eyes could see was legitimate.
Well, the leader of them only has one. The one guy has the eye patch. Yeah. I think that is what he's suing for, a nicer glass eye. Didn't one of the Proud Boy leaders come out that he was a DEI agent, like an FBI agent?
Yeah,
Enrico Tarrio.
He was informant.
Yeah, and how is he back with it? They speaking of acceptance and inclusion. Y'all are the epitome. You're like, I know our leader is an informant. How do you think that would go with the mob?
Right.
You get caught wearing a wire. They're like, Michael said he's sorry. He's not going to do it again. What kind of BS? That just makes me feel
if these men aren't just walking free, but they also get to collect money for this, it's just such a travesty to justice. And, I'm glad the administration and the Department of Justice is trying to dismiss this lawsuit. But, what they're saying is not that, like, these men were guilty or they deserve the time they spent or anything that seems reasonable. They're saying that they had not yet exhausted administrative remedies before they filed suit. And then also argued that the U.S. enjoys sovereign immunity from such claims. This is the problem when you pardon people who actually committed crimes.
Yes, the entitlement is staggering.
Right.
To the point where, like, I don't have the words because I'm like, I can't believe it's just like it's like you break out of jail and then you're like, oh my God, Michael Dean, we figured out a way to get out of jail 10, 15 years earlier than we should. But you know what? I left my watch and my polo shirt in there and I feel like they should mail that back to me. It's just like, I can't believe, but it shows the entitlement and how they're two different legal systems in which somebody's brain could even wrap their heads around the fact they're like, you know what, I think they did me wrong. Yeah, that's me on camera, but still, it's a different level of entitlement that I'll never know. Michael Dean, we need a palate cleanser. Let's do something fun.
Yeah. Have you bought your Powerball ticket?
I have not.
Will you be buying one?
Should I? I've never played the lotto.
1.3 billion now. No one has won yet. I did some more digging, and it seems, I mean, it's still unreasonable, but it seems a little bit better. So if you lived in Colorado, if you chose to get the full payout right away, you would net $345 million.
Out of 1.3 million?
Billion, yeah. Yep. You'd pay like 700 and, whatever taxes.
Well, why can't I get the same tax cut that like Bezos has, where he pays no taxes?
Yeah, I really think that they've got this the lottery taxes nailed down.
Yeah, there's no way to get out. I do want to ask you this.
There's no like moving of things around and offshore accounting that.
Do you think? And I want our night owls to weigh in on this. So as I'm talking, you guys please start to respond. Michael Dean, Jacob, Nick, I want everybody's honest opinion. I play the Powerball. I win the 1.3 million. And I'm one of those guys that's like Warren Buffett. I'm like, I don't want anything. I still have ice cream and hamburgers on Friday nights. If I just came here and just tried to do the podcast like nothing had changed, would you let me get away with that? Because
I mean, like, I was thinking, I had a similar thought. Now, real quick, if you chose to take the annuity, you would take home more money. It's $760 million spread over 30 years. And apparently you get more. So like the first few years would be like 11 and 12 million, but towards the end, it would be closer to 30 to 40 million annually.
No, I can't spend it then. Give me my money now.
So, that's a pretty attractive option, especially if you feel like you're not going to be great with having that amount of money
right
off the hands, because there's serious spending urge, and you'd be surprised how quickly you could go through $1 million. I mean, that's what I hear.
Yeah. Well, no, I've watched a lot of documentaries on people that won the lottery, and it's not that much, but it's like 20, 30 million, and you can blow through that.
But, I think there's something that happens, and I have some wealthy relatives, and, they're paranoid, and but at first I reacted and I was like, why are they so paranoid? And then I understood, like, they really believe that there are people in this world, and there are, that would kill them for their money.
Absolutely.
And so, like, the idea that you can just be a regular guy, that ship kind of sails when you have a $345 million bank account.
Right. And I mean, but it's not just like you need to move away from your friends. Almost everybody that you know now knows. So
that's why you have to do it anonymously, and you can't make the big splashy purchases.
But then what's the point of that?
Or what you do is you like come up with some great lie. I've inherited a little bit of money. I'm going to move into this gated compound with some security. And then, my thing, doing this show, doing Friends from Work, especially being, quote unquote, conventionally unemployed, gives me reason, purpose, something to wake up for in the morning. I'm sure you feel the same way with your comedy,
right?
And or writing those kids' books, and I think that having money doesn't make that go away. it almost makes it more important.
Yes, but your entire world around you is turned upside down because people can only see life-changing money in front of them. And so everybody is like, you know what, Al, we could really use a new wing on this podcast studio. I mean, if we could level up, we will pay you the money back. You got, oh, your nephew, he's about to start college. I don't know how we're going to pay for it. I wish he had an uncle or some. Every interaction that you have with somebody, that is their one chance to change their life.
You know, like immediately you got to think you've got to do a couple things. You hire a very good lawyer, and then you hire a very experienced financial advisor. And the minute people start coming and asking you for money or coming up with pitches for this and that, you just hand them a card. Be like, I don't ever make these decisions. Talk to this person, and all
but
of that.
that's going to be your friend though. Like if I did that to you, you'd be like, dude, we work together. Like who's now there's a third party that I think on paper, what you were saying is the prudent, smart, adult, professional way to handle it. But when your homeboy goes, man, I want to start a car wash. I just need 50 grand to get off the ground. I already got the location. I'm going to name it after my grandmother. In that area we've already scouted. There's not a car wash for 10 miles. It's going to really kill. I just need a little. And if they go, can you give me that money? You wouldn't even notice it. And I go, here's a card. Call my friend Mickey so he can tell you no. Like,
right.
It's going to alienate your friend base. That's what I'm saying. Like, do you have to leave everything you know because everything you know is forever changed, even if you're not.
The other thing that'll happen too is you're going to start questioning anybody who wants to get to know you or who wants to get close because you all of a sudden don't know whether it's nefarious or not, whether they're just using you for your money. And I think you have to put up walls. I also think that this is what happens with that 1% where they become really insulated.
Yes.
And they just hang out together or they just do these things that only they can afford because and it's a false idea that only other people with money or serious money are going to treat you at least with the modicum of they're not there for my money because they already have it,
right?
Which, by the way, is totally false. There's plenty of people with money who will happily steal more money.
Right.
I mean, we see it all the time.
Absolutely. I think that they're almost more prone because the people that have an incredible amount of wealth, not the people that are like, look, me and my husband did well. We got $60 million. That's enough for us to retire. We're going down to the Florida Keys. We will see you guys. Here's our mailing address. That's a different kind of person than somebody that's got $516 million and they're like up at 5 a.m. because they want more. I think that's an obsession with money the same way people would have an obsession with anything. And so I think those people would try and steal from you. But also then you can't hang out with your cool friends anymore. And now you just have to hang out with the 1%, which you got to laugh at Jeff Bezos' jokes on his yacht.
Or look at Lauren Sanchez and be like, that's a normal looking person.
Yeah, all of them.
I would not be able to stop staring because I'd just be like,
and just listen to their comments. Maybe they wouldn't be poor if they worked harder. And you just have to be like, You just have to take that. It's just because now you got nowhere to go. You can't go back to your old dive bar. Like, people are going to know. Right. You're going to be sitting there trying to have a drink, and they'll be like, you're going to hear whispering, and then the bartender's going to slide you their phone number, and you're going to be like, I can't hang here no more.
JGG brought up a really interesting point because she said that they knew someone in California that won $30 million and blew it in 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And talking about, I asked her on what, and, there was a reference about her husband and drugs, allegedly, right? Whatever I have to say to make that, not an accusation. Oh, whatever. But, as someone who's sober, I would worry about that a big time too, because you are isolated. You're worried about the people that are around you. You're not sure if people are just using you. And I'm sure you end up feeling alone with your swimming around in your vault of coins.
Yeah.
And you know what? All those drugs and alcohol look really attractive.
I could see you talking yourself into it. But I can
always just afford to go to some rehab sometime.
And also I can handle it now. I can't blow the money if I wanted to. I have too much money.
Right.
And I deserve this. And then I think the drugs are then what bring around the shady, sketchy people. Next thing you know, they're changing your phone number for you, and your wife is estranged, and now they got you. I think that there's people that move in a way to identify rich people, isolate them, and take advantage of them. And Michael Dean, because we're running a little short on time,
yep.
this kind of perfectly transitions into a story I wanted to get to, because I talked to a friend of mine 2 hours ago about this exact same thing. Not the same story, but it happened to his mother. No names, please. Can you talk about the octogenarian that got
This is such a
taken advantage of? Because I just got off the phone with a friend today, Michael Dean,
So-
that it was this, but it was a different celebrity.
So, the headline on the story was like definitely like shocking, because you're like, how could anyone be, I'm going to say it, so stupid to be brought in by this? And then you realize just how ultimately sad this is. So a woman, a Japanese octogenarian, was swindled out of thousands of dollars.
I was wondering, what does that mean? You're 80?
80, yeah, she's in her 80s.
Can you just say that?
Yeah, this 80.
I read the article. It said octogenarian. I was like, can you not do that?
They go into the octagon.
Right. Okay, yeah.
So she fell in love online with a self-described astronaut who sought her help, and I'm going to quote this, to avert a spaceship crisis. And apparently that crisis was that he was running out of oxygen and he needed her money to buy more oxygen.
What if that was the premise of Gravity?
Well, I just like
George Clooney,
are there like
DMing chicks?
Are there oxygen stops in space?
Yeah.
And you can like at like gas station and just
I wonder like what the full pitch was.
yeah, or and clearly, I mean, I don't know how cogent this octogenarian is, because like it seems like that wouldn't pass. Like people are like, that's ridiculous. Like, why isn't the government that send you up there like rocketing oxygen to you? But the couple of things that like struck me right away. This woman was blinded by love.
Right.
Like she had really fallen in love, and not just that, the person that she was in love with was in distress, and she was just showing up as a human would. And that is what is so dangerous about these things. Like, we can point fingers and laugh or think how ridiculous or has this woman lost her mind that she fell for that? But like, this is like the most human thing there is.
It really is. And it makes sense because, with the person I was talking to today, and obviously I don't even know this person's loved one's name, but it was this story, but it was a famous American actor that needed some money, like a really famous A-list, rock level kind of, actor that needed money. And Michael, you said it, and I don't even know if you said it. It's that not only that this person they love needs them, but that finally this world that is slowly marginalized them and said that they're not needed. You don't work anymore. Besides voting, you don't really make a big difference in terms of, how society moves along, and you feel pushed aside. And all of a sudden you're called into the game. The coach tells you, get your helmet. You got to save an astronaut, or you got to save this actor who you've loved for years. And and you know what this person told me, which was really sad. And he said it made him feel guilty, is that he found out that this person, this scammer, had been calling his loved one and checking on her every day. And just that level of connection when somebody doesn't have anything, it makes it a lot more plausible. These people, for as much as we might make fun, like, oh, how do you think The Rock is in love with you? It's because these people got a good rap. They con men and women and people. They don't get that title by being obviously full of shit. They get that title because what they're saying is they go to town. Hey, Michael Dean, I'm an insurance guy. I'll tell you what, I just, my old firm shut down. I'm in between the new one, transferring the LLC. You know how that goes. Anyway, I'm embarrassed to ask this. My daughter, she's at Stanford. Here's a picture of her. You can, she sent me a DM. Look, she said, love you, Daddy. She needs $500 for her books in like I don't want the money from you. I just like, I don't know where I'm going to get it. And just like, these people are good.
Yeah.
This is all they do. When you get up and you go do your job every day, they get up and their job is to figure out a way to steal from you.
Yeah.
And so if you are not able to catch the subtle nuances, like, you know,
Thank you, Julia.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Yeah, absolutely. You're such a sweet pea. You know, if it wasn't, you know, for these people being sadly so good at their job, we wouldn't have a million documentaries of targeting mostly women that are lonely, that still have a lot of love to give, that still have a lot to give this world.
Right.
And these people show that they recognize that they're like, you know what, you're not some just older woman that like you're sexy.
Right. Right.
When we get married, I'm gonna make love to you on the beach. What do you think? These people aren't still people? They still don't want to have connections, physical and mental?
And you hit it on the head. Something happens as you age and you get older where you become invisible to the rest of the people, to the rest of society around you. Like you're just looked over.
Yeah.
You know, like dismissed. People aren't eyeing you. There's this dismissal that happens. And, you know, you end up, I imagine feeling invisible and all of a sudden to not be it's got to be like a drug.
Especially when you were a person that was visible. You were the head of the PTA. Right. You were the first woman to be, you know, the head of some fire department that had only been men. Like your picture is hanging in a hall of fame somewhere. But yet, when you go to a restaurant, you can tell that they're sidestepping you because they don't want people of a certain age to be seen here. When you start to feel marginalized, you're going to act out as we all do, and you're going to seek those feelings of attachment, which we all have. So I don't blame this person. I just think that there should be stiffer penalties for doing this, because I know that there are things called enhancements that you can do, like for example, if I'm a pastor that steals from my own flock, or I'm a gym teacher, or, you know, gym teacher that targets my own students, you get more years because people trusted you.
Right.
So that taking advantage of a trusted position, you get more years tacked on. They need to make an example out of some of these people because it's so pervasive.
It's so hard to catch them too.
Yeah.
And so many of them are overseas. And, you know, like I hear these horrible stories about people who, you know, are sucked in and forced to do this as you said, as a job. And, you know, they're kept there against their will. And this is what they do. And, you know, like you know, in some ways it's so hard because it's not like some IP address that could be traced like down the street,
right,
or even into American City. Like this happens. And it is, you know, the labor is cheap.
Yeah. And
the return is just so great on it because, you know, there are so many vulnerable people. You know, a huge segment of the American population is over the age of 65 now.
Yeah, it's just fishing.
Yeah.
And
you know, exactly.
You target your, you know, and you send out 100, hey, I'm a Nigerian prince, and 998 people go blocked, but 2 people go, hello, prince.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. And that's sad, but that's where we are.
Real quick, I want to address something that Just Me brought up that we spoke a lot about, a lot of male topics today, or male dominated topics, or and said that we didn't bring up anything that had to do with fashion or beauty or these other things. And I just want to say, you know, with maybe the exception of that last story we talked about, like, I hear you, and I think that's important. I just wanted to play to our strengths today.
Right.
But also that point, like, there were a couple stories, you know, like Vogue just named its new editor, and it's Candace Bergen's daughter, like, for replacing, oh, come on, with the glasses. Anna
Wintour, yes.
You know, and, like, I'm super curious to learn more about her and to talk about that. There's a lot of stories. I also loved the rock story, and hopefully we can get to that on Friday.
Yes.
Because that involves, you know, a lot of emotions. But I hear you, and, you know, when Tory's back, I think.
Absolutely. We will discuss. Hopefully when Tory's back, there won't be troops in the streets. I promise that I cannot wait to stop talking about that. You know, Fashion Jackson over here. I am dressed like the introduction to In Living Color, if anybody remembers that show. So yes, I am definitely down to talk fashion, and we'll do that on the Friday episode. You have my promise. So until then, on behalf of Dude IDK Studios, Michael Dean, executive producer, stepping in for Tory. Guys, I've been Al Jackson. Night Owls. Hoot, hoot.